Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Caryn, like car insurance for everyone who wants to call me Karen in their minds. Don't do it. I'm here to have a conversation today with Stacey Brass-Russell, and she and I are both coaches and longtime space holders. And we're not doing an interview, we're doing a conversation. So you get to listen in to two people who care a lot about coaching and the experience of people as coaches and the experience of people as clients of high integrity coaches. And we'll just start there. So Stacey, can you just kind of hop back into the thoughts you were having before I hit record?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, first of all, hi, and thank you for bringing me on for a
Oh
conversation.
yeah. And you should introduce yourself.
Well, okay, well, I am Stacey Brass-Russell, and I call myself a business and life transformation coach, and I coach coaches as you do, and experts, and help people to figure out how they get to do this work that we do that I think sometimes can be perceived as esoteric or our people don't understand what we do, right? I call it regular people. And so I help coaches figure out how to actually tell regular people what they do and how they can help them in a way that feels tangible, so that someone understands why they might invest in working with a coach.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a very simple version of
Yeah,
what I do. Yeah.
it's clear. Okay. So then what do we want to talk about today?
Well, I think we started talking a little bit, not just on this call that we jumped on, but like in some of our just our exchanges that we've been having about just the industry, the coaching industry, and what it's like for a coach who's not a business coach. And this is something that you and I have talked a little bit about how, there's a lot of people that are talking about how much money they make in the online, excuse me, in the online coaching and sort of like service-based business industry. And we've been talking a lot about how the people that talk all the time about how much money they make are usually people whose clients are people that are trying to make money. So other coaches and
Mhm.
service providers. And that leaves out an understanding of what it's really like for someone who's not a coach who's out there trying to help other people make money, what it's like to sell. And this is the best word for it, what it's like when what you're selling is transformation and you're not
Mhm.
just selling how to help other people make more money. And I think that's
Yeah.
like become really prevalent right now in the industry, and it can really throw you off if you're a coach and that's not what you do.
Well, and I'll say in my desire to not sound like that, I have made less money because I have been less clear. I help people make more money. That's
Yeah.
something that I do. These are results my clients get, but I
Yeah.
don't say that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even about only talking about helping other people make money, but it's also sort of talking about how much money you make, right? And I think
Right. Right.
I think that as business coaches, like obviously we're aware of the other business coaches out there, the other people
Mhm.
that are coaching coaches, and it's just become really prevalent for people to kind of talk about how much money they make,
Yeah.
and that's how they kind of attract clients or lure people in, as if they can definitely help the other person make that kind of money. And
Mhm.
then very often what's not being shared is a lot of the kind of, what are they selling, right? Like, what is their
What did it
product? What
cost
is
them to
their
make that
service?
money?
And what is the cost of it? Like, what is their business model, right? And I think when people, at least I believe, and this is me too, when I first became a coach, and the coaches that I work with, their idea of a coaching business is literally to coach people.
Mhm.
I was on a
Yeah.
call the other day with a business of someone that we both know from from the community that we're in, and and he said to me, "Wow, you must be, it was really hard to get on your calendar. When you sent the calendar, you hardly had any, slots available." And I was like, "Yeah, because I actually coach. Like that's actually what I do. Like my schedule is really full with coaching.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who's trying to sell that you can make tons of money working for 40 seconds. You know what I mean? And I believe that like most of the people that I work with, myself included, when I became a coach, It was because I love coaching.
Yeah.
And I believe that coaching is like, oh, is really when you're not actually talking to one-on-one with someone, you're not actually coaching you're not coaching them, then you're teaching or you're,
Yeah.
you're sort of broadcasting. But like coaching is in the relationship, it's in the conversation. So the only way you can really coach people is if you're talking to them. Like that's legit coaching, right?
Right.
So I think that most of the people that we work with, that I work with, they come into this industry with the desire to coach, not with the desire to sell evergreen pre-recorded courses.
Right. Right.
And so there's a huge difference in a business model for someone who is really trying to get other human beings,
Mm-hmm.
real individuals who like to invest, because none of us are charging, like one of the first rules of business, I believe, for us as coaches is we don't trade time for money. We need to position ourselves in a different way of how we help people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're usually charging people whatever, anywhere upwards of $1,000 or more, right? And normal, regular, everyday people, to make an investment in a service like coaching, that's a big deal for them, like
Mm-hmm.
most people.
Huge deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if we're trying to build a business on that, on really coaching and charging people what we need to charge in order to actually make coaching our business, because we have to like
Yeah.
pay our rent and whatever.
Pay taxes. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that's a different thing that you're selling than when you look at someone whose business model is that they've got lots of low ticket, mid ticket courses, pre-recorded stuff. They've got
Yeah.
funnels, they've got all this stuff. They're spending tons of money and that's a different business model. And so I think it can be really confusing when you really just want to be a coach to figure out what are you supposed to do?
And I think I want to be really clear because this confusion exists, and it exists a lot. Like that moment you become a coach and then you have that like, oh crap, that means I have to be in business. And then it's like, I'm running and grasping at every shiny object. But there's a very big difference between a relationship-based business model, which is primarily what life coaches doing one-on-one coaching businesses have, where you don't have to have a perfect funnel. You don't have to run Facebook ads. You don't have to run an education business,
And you
which
don't have to have a huge audience either.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget. A lot of my listeners know who Caryn Crabtree is, but at one point I told her how much money I had made and she asked me, what's your list size? And then she gave me this weird look like, I should get on your list. I have no idea how you're doing that, but we're selling such different things,
Right.
right? If you're selling one-on-one coaching, you can do a lot with a little. If you're
Yeah.
selling a membership or an educational program, you have to do a lot with a lot.
Yeah. And you have
Yeah.
to launch and you have to do, and like a lot of times when a new coach, I'll see them, I don't know, either post on Facebook or they'll tell me and they're like, I'm getting ready to launch. And I'm like, what is launching one-on-one coaching? Like, what do you mean? Right. And they're like, oh, I'm getting my website and I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And I'm like, but all you really need to know how to do is tell someone how you can help them and then just start talking to people and telling them that you're available. Like there's no like launching is like the day you wake up and you're willing to just embody confidently that you have something that you can help other people with. And you need to know what it is. You need to be clear on what your coaching is. But the day you wake up and you're willing to just start going out and telling people about it and talking to people and having conversations
Mhm.
is your launch. That's your launch. Like
That's it. That's
you
the
got to
deal.
talk to people.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's a difference too between a relationship business and potentially an education services business is, do you want to stay connected? Do you want to talk to people? Because if you're running perfect funnels and your ads are working really well, that means you're taking yourself out of that equation.
Totally.
And I never want to do that. Like, I'm really clear that the kind of business I want to have is the relationship kind. I want to know who you are and what your situation is. I want to know about your life. I want you to know about mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think that there are a lot of people out there who what they're selling is, you don't ever have to do another discovery call again. And I'm like,
I love
but
those.
I want to do discovery. I want to talk to people about
Yeah.
coaching. I'm not in the business of eliminating how much contact I have with other human beings. I actually
Right.
became a coach because for whatever reason, my DNA, right? Because before I was a coach, I was a yoga teacher, like not just like not a fitness teacher, but like,
Mhm.
owning a yoga studio, training people how to be yoga teachers at a really high level. And I think that my DNA is that like I'm a human oriented person. Like that is what I get the most joy. Even like when I was an actress, playing human beings, being human. I'm fascinated with being a human and with how to optimize our experience on this earth. And I believe that coaches are here to help other people to do that. First, we're doing it for ourselves, and then we're helping other people to do that. And real coaching on that is we're connecting with people. We can't have a business about that where we're trying to eliminate at all costs any reason to show up
Yeah. We
and
gotta want to show up.
interact.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting question. Like, if you're a coach and you don't want to connect with people, maybe coaching's not the right fit.
Well, I don't know if it's coaching. Like, I
Right.
think that that's teaching. I think that like people that are, and this is something I'm a little obsessed with, like coaching, teaching,
Mhm.
and like mentoring, right? Like these are all like they're subtle, and I don't like to sound like I'm a, weirdo about semantics or whatever,
But I
but I
think it
kind of
helps.
am because I'm a word, I'm a messaging expert, and I think words are very important. And, I think they convey a lot. And I think there's a difference between and I'm all of those, right? And
Me too.
I love teaching, but I love coaching, and I know the difference. And I think that like if you don't want to talk to people, you need to just own the fact that
Yes.
therefore what you are as a teacher. If you want to do it by like recording it and having people in the comfort of their own home by themselves sit and watch something, that
Yeah.
just
Different
doesn't
model.
qualify as coaching to me.
Yeah. No, I hear that. That makes sense. So then what's important? What do you see? Because you work with lots of coaches too, as like what's on the frontier for us? Where are we going? What's making you feel hopeful?
Well, I feel like I have good news. Here's the good news. I actually think that, and I think we've talked a little about this. I think that, during the pandemic, obviously there was like a real surge, a boom of like online business. And I think people went crazy with like, everyone and
Sourdough
their what?
with their sourdough and their
With
online coaching.
sourdough, yeah, and yeah, but also with like starting courses and businesses. And I think that like, there was like a surge of this feeling that like anyone and everyone could like make money by coming up with a course and selling it and, and all this stuff. And then I think that what happened, this is just what I hear, like, because, like I got my ear to the ground. I think that a lot of people feel like they got burned. I think that people made investments in with whatever you want to call it, in things with people
Mhm.
that they didn't deliver, or like it wasn't as
Oh
like
yeah.
it wasn't high caliber. It wasn't like I think people got a little burned, and I
I
think
mean,
that
I
people.
got burned. Did you get burned personally? I totally did.
I mean, thank God I didn't like get. I mean, I wouldn't call it burned, but I definitely like invested for the first time at the highest level I had ever invested. It was right before the pandemic, but anyway,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it was for the whole year of the first year of the pandemic. Um, but I think that what happened was a lot of people now I think we have a new buyer awareness. I think that the
Yes.
marketplace has changed. And I think that it's a bad news for the people who would like to just keep on selling their kind of maybe like not so great courses and whatever. But I
Mhm.
think for people that really do have relationship based businesses, I think that there's a light for us because I think that people are wanting more connection. I think they're wanting to be seen and heard. And I think they recognize the difference between when you're getting something that really is going to help you and when you're not.
Mhm.
And I think that they are also paying more attention to who they're buying from.
Mhm.
And so I think if you're willing to put yourself out there in terms of your values, and if you're a very high integrity service provider and you lead with that, and if what you do when you work with people is deliver, I use the term, we talked about this on my podcast. I was like, I love that you say you work with remarkable people. One of my words is I say that I want my coaches that I coach, and myself included, to provide what I call an exceptional experience.
Mhm.
I want,
Yeah.
if someone invests with me in anything, whether it's one-on-one or in my group program, whatever, one of the things that's so important to me is that people feel like that I'm giving them an exceptional experience, and that I'm showing up 1,000% and doing everything I can to make them feel like I'm showing up for them. I can't work miracles, and it's a two-way street, and it's a partnership, but I want people to feel that they made an investment and they feel like they got what I said I was going to give them, which is
Right.
my undivided, loving attention, where my focus is only on them, seeing them as their highest version of themselves, and modeling, like mirroring that for them and helping them to step into what they want.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Because from my perspective, people are buying differently.
Yeah.
They're still buying. And
Yeah.
what has worked since 1950 still works today.
Yeah.
Do what you said you'd do. Deliver a good product. Show up for your people. Don't be ridiculous.
I love that part.
And be in a relationship.
Yeah, but and then another thing is, I think, have realistic expectations. Like, this is
Right.
something that I feel is like one of the reasons why the people that do like me, or whatever you want to call it, follow me, listen to me, whatever. I think one of the things that people always say is that what they like about me is I'm encouraging. I do talk about abundance and our belief systems, and I do talk about, like, like how we have to show up in order to, like, call in what we want. But on the other hand, I also am very down to earth and realistic, where I say, like, the people that are making you think that, like, you can make one post of a story on social media and get 50 clients, I don't think they're telling you the whole story. And what I know is that, like, when the work I do, I invest a lot of time in creating clients. Like,
Mhm.
meaning, some people, I talk to them many times. I don't just expect someone to, like, talk to me one time. Sometimes they talk to me once and they're like, okay, I know I want to work with you. But sometimes I have to talk to people a few times for them to, like, be able to get what I call the green light in themselves to
Mhm.
to say yes to working with a coach. Sometimes people are on my email list or come to my free shit that I do for like 2 years before they ever then, like, invest in working with me. And I don't want to call those people tire kickers or freebie seekers. Like, I'm like, no, they're human beings. And for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they're feeling like I'm inspiring to them at the moment. And maybe it's aspirational for them to be able to, at some point, get up the nerve or save the money. I don't know what it is, but I believe that, like, if they're hanging around my door, that I'm going to serve them and I'm going to show up for them. And I believe that the right people will eventually pay me. And the people that don't, guess what? They're valuable members of my community, because when they
Yeah.
show up to my free stuff or when they listen to my podcast, that helps me too.
How do you stay out of entitlement? Because that's the one thing that I hear crop up for people when they're like, someone's been around a lot, or I've done, I've sent 15 emails and I've done 2 challenges and nobody signed up for anything. Like, that to me sounds like entitlement. Like,
It's hard.
you think just because you show up, then you should get people to pay you money for your services, but that's not
Yeah.
how it works.
No,
Yeah.
it's hard. I made an episode like a year ago of my podcast, and the title is something like "The Shadow Side of Being in Service,"
Oh, yeah.
because
Mhm.
I really use service as like a sort of one of my values of my, it's kind of like I show up in service. I believe that every conversation that we have with people until they're, until they want to have a discovery call or whatever, is we can be in service to people until, we can give people a lot, on the road to them becoming our client. And I don't like selfless service. Like I come from the yoga world where there's sort of a lot of talk about like selfless service, and that can feel a little bit like veering on like being, like that then you're sort of like martyring yourself, or that you're kind of like, and so I don't believe in that. But I do believe that there is a way of kind of approaching our business from like a place of being in service, and where we have to like detach ourselves from our ego. This could be my whole yoga background, but I do believe that like we do have to do our own work to kind of like separate our egos from other people's intentions, and we can't make up stories about what other people are thinking or why they're doing what they're doing. And I think that's one of the things that the human brain loves to do. In the absence of knowing, the human brain is going to fill in, it's going to make a meaning of something. And we usually don't do it to serve us at the highest level. We usually do it to make up a story about how dare this person take advantage of all my incredible content, and God, what do I have to do for them to like pay me? And it's really easy, but that's like so ego. That's like our fear. That's our ego. It's so much shit coming up. And so as coaches, we actually have to use our coaching on ourselves.
I'm just imagining a world where the only people who ever showed up at any business were the people who were there to buy, and how weird that would be.
And overwhelming.
Right? It's like only 7 people came to my webinar and every single one of them bought. Like who would we be if that's how it worked? I think it would be really weird.
And it's not how it works. And I think that when people see like, I don't want to like call anyone out, but like right now, like a big person, I'm not, it's nothing bad. Like right now, Mel Robbins is like launching something, right? She's launching a course called Launch. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And, like I understand the reality of that. She has an audience of like a bajillion people, right? I don't know what it is, but let's just assume it's like 1 million or more people, okay, who she's launching to. And so the industry standard of conversion is going to be the same for her as it is for everybody else. It's still going to be 1 to 2% of her audience that's going to end up buying. It's just that 1 to 2% of a bajillion people is still a lot of people. Whereas when you've got 7 people on your webinar and not a bazillion of them, a 1 to 2% conversion is going to be one of those people, 1 or 2 of those people. And I think that there's just like, there's not a lot of people out there talking about those numbers, like, and being really transparent.
Right. And being like, I hear the numbers, but then also direct face-to-face with your client saying you have a list of 300 people. So the chance of you launching a membership and getting more than 6 people in it is pretty small.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be like, either you have to go into it knowing that if you get 6 people, you're going to be like, woo, like you're gonna like
hit the standard.
They're going to know that was amazing.
Yeah.
Or you can do it and be detached from reality and what your coach is telling you is like the real deal, and be really disappointed in yourself.
Yeah.
Like I saw a post in a group I'm in, I don't know, came through my feed this morning where someone was like, how do you define your success as a coach? And I like couldn't even get into responding because I was like, don't even get me started, because I'm like, you decide what's successful for you.
Right.
You decide what's successful.
And I think a lot of people, if you're listening, take this as potential homework. Have you defined what success looks like for you, for really for you, not just the fancy numbers you've heard someone else say, or what you think a quote unquote successful coach should do or look like, but like what actually is success? It could, like, I have a client who wants to have 3 clients at a time. That's her success. No more than that, because they've got a lot of other things going on in their life. That's amazing, clear, doable, right? And you can set your business up to support 3 clients at a time. Your goal might be 12, but let it be what it is. Do the math and understand like what it actually looks like for you. It doesn't have to be 7 figures. Let's be really clear.
or six figures. I feel like that
Mhm.
sort of gets thrown around a lot. And I also have a lot of clients who like, I'm not saying they'd be like, no way, I don't want to make six figures, but that's not like they don't need that's not their goal. Their goal is like if they were making 50,000 or $30,000 a year from their coaching business, if they could get to that, they'd be like, this is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I want to celebrate. I want to tell them that's great. Like, let's just focus on that. And then you might not have to do some of the things that you see
That you
other
don't
people
want to do.
doing, right? That you see other people doing where that overwhelms you, the idea of running a webinar and doing this and doing that and whatever. I'm like, if those things overwhelm you, like you don't have to do them because you don't need to do them for the business that you want to have. So let's just
Yeah.
like focus on on how you can get the clients that'll add up to that amount of money you want. How many clients do you need? How much are you charging? And
Do some
let's
math
focus
problems.
on that.
Yeah. And that's where like having someone in your life who really understands coaching business strategy can really help, because you can throw a million tactics at your problem and maybe be successful, but define what you want and then understand the path that gets you there in the easiest way for who you are. That's
Yeah.
the sweetest spot for success.
And that leverages what you like doing and what you're good at. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's kind of what you said, but like
Yeah.
before we got on, we were talking about, when you said, what do you want to talk about? And we said, well, one thing that I think is really helpful for coaches to hear is that you can actually use your coaching to attract clients, right? It's kind of like a lot of times when people start their coaching business and then they get overwhelmed thinking that they have to become like social media experts, or that they spend 50 hours trying to make a graphic in Canva or make a carousel, or they're like or they're paying for all these courses on like the perfect template for social media, or whatever, which I'm not putting that down. Like I use social media, like if you want to use it, you might have to figure some stuff out. Okay, that's true. But if social media is something that like you don't enjoy and that you don't want to do it, right? The interesting thing about a coaching business is that there are other ways for you to show up in the world
Yeah.
and have people hear you and experience you um doing what it is, like literally using your coaching skills, to attract clients, having conversations with people and talking about certain things that
Connecting.
yeah.
And we have to put in a plug right here for my freebie of 5 ways to make coaching your marketing. So that's in the show notes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think that that's brilliant. And I think that it should make a lot of people exhale, knowing that like there is a way to use your coaching to be a coach.
Yeah. Yeah. And have that be in your sweet spot all the time.
And
Yeah.
especially on a discovery call. Like, it's kind of like, do I think that there are some things that we should know about human psychology when it comes to whatever their sales calls? But what we're really doing is we're helping somebody to come to a place in themselves where they want to make an investment in themselves,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and do you need to know some stuff about how human brains work when it comes to that? Sure, but in a weird way, that's coaching stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's like the stuff you need to know about what would keep someone from like taking an empowered step toward like getting what they want and need. That's coaching. Like that's literally what you do as a coach is you help people figure out like what's getting in their way of making a choice for themselves that's going to like help them get where they want to go. And that's what a discovery call is anyway. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like if you get too hung up on like sales and money mindset and objections and all of that, and you forget that your greatest skill that you can use when you're on a conversation, having a conversation with someone about working with you is just to keep freaking coaching them.
Mhm. Amazing. Something we're already all trained in.
How convenient.
How convenient. That makes me think about you and I and like what's on the horizon for us as coaches who have been at it for a long time, and like what's on your cutting edge?
Well, what's on my cutting edge, and like it's scary for me to think about, is that when I really look at my trajectory, my path, as I said earlier, I was like a performer and then a yoga teacher, trainer, whatever. I'm feeling really called to like help coaches be better coaches. Like I think that like when you do your first coach training or when you do your first yoga teacher training, any of those things where we get our certification, I think it takes us to a certain point, and then we, and then we like use it and we get better just by using it.
Hmm.
But then I think that we can, like what we're talking about, I think it can help coaches use their coaching to become even more successful coaches. Like I
Yeah.
believe that I can help you to become more successful as a coach because I believe that I can help you step even more confidently into your coaching. And that's actually what should make people want to work with you, is like,
Hmm.
is your belief in yourself as a coach is coming through so strongly that someone is so drawn to your presence that they're like, I want to work with that person. And I
Yeah.
believe that that's something that like, it's not just coaching skills, it's also kind of like coaching embodiment.
Hmm.
I'm feeling called to do that because I think that so many people are fixated on clients and money. And
I've
I,
lost
and
the
I,
heart of it.
yeah,
I see that. I mean, that makes a ton of sense for me, for you. Just it's that same thing of like there are people who teach yoga classes, and then there are people who are yoga teachers. And I
yeah,
think there are people who are coach who know how to coach, who have clients, and then there are people who are coaches. It's
yeah,
a different thing. And we're coaches. Like I identify as a coach.
yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
think it's why I did my coach training, right? Because I already was identifying as that even when
Mhm.
I was, in the yoga world. But yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I think that some of it also just has to do with like I said, like deeper levels of embodiment
Mhm.
that I believe when you really step into that, it just makes you more magnetic. It makes you more. Look, I mean, I'll be all mushy right now, because we talked about this when I was a guest on when you were a guest on my show, which is, I was listening to an episode of your podcast. I didn't know you, right?
Right.
And I listened, and like I told you, I was like, I messaged you right away. I was like a few minutes in, I was like, I was drawn to you. But that's like I don't want to use the word gravitas, but it's like, it's just an embodiment of confidence. I was like, we're in this industry. I don't want to put anyone down because I have lots of colleagues in the online business world that I think are awesome and amazing at what they do, and they're really successful business owners. But they're not all like life coaches in addition to being business coaches, whatever.
Mhm.
We talked about
Right.
this. And when I heard you, I was like, that's a coach. I was like, that just the way you were talking, I was like, that's a coach. And I just felt like I felt really like attracted to your energy and to you. And I believe that that is a huge thing that one could have that makes them magnetic and attractive to people.
Mhm.
Like, don't you want to be that person when you're in a room and someone talks to you and they just automatically are like, I don't know, but like I feel like I need to work with you.
Yeah. I want what you're having.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to help people to get. I want to help them to go beyond thinking that it's like external messaging and marketing and whatever. And I want to help them believe that like it's actually when you're fully embodied in like what you do, and when you're so
Yeah.
clear on what you do and how you help people, that it oozes from you in like a good way. Like it oozes from
Yeah.
you in a way that people are like,
It's
tell
like
me.
business from the inside out, not
Yes.
tactics from the outside in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
What about you?
that's a fun frontier.
What's your frontier? I mean, I think I have many, but some of them are not
Yeah.
only about like my coaching business. Some of them are also about my person, my thought, I don't know, I don't like my thought leadership. No, but like, like I want to, I
You want to
think
speak.
I think the performer part of me and the thing that's always driven me and why I wanted to be on stage from when I was like really way too young to think that like that
To even know
is
stages exist.
right before you even know there's a stage, which is your living room. I think that for me, another frontier that doesn't relate specifically to my coaching business, although it does, but like
Yeah.
I want to, I want to I want to be in front of a lot of people.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. What
And
about you?
and to be really powerful doing that, you have to be super embodied, right? Like
Oh
that's
my God, like a trillion percent. And that's
yeah.
kind of what I'm working on right now, which is like stop questioning or second guessing. It's funny. I work with people every day, all day on like their messaging and what they want to say. And something that happens with everyone that I work with is like, it's always goes back to the thing. It always, no matter what, you're like, you think that you're supposed to be like figuring it out. And then at the end of the day, it's always the thing that made you decide that you're going to become a coach or that you're going to do what you do. That message, that thing that you believe you're here to do or say, it actually is always the same. And I know for myself over the years, I keep questioning or doubting if that thing that I want to say or that message is like good enough or right or different enough or like
Mhm.
if anyone's going to think like it's worth me saying it or and that's what I'm working on right now because I do feel that I embody so many things, but then when it comes to like, well, what would I want to be standing on a stage in front of tons of people doing my talk on? I know what it is, but I feel like, oh, but is anyone going to want to hear that? And that's what I'm working on right now is like, is knowing what I know. It is what people want to hear because it's the core,
Yeah, and it's what got people to stick with you from being a yoga teacher and start being your life coaching clients because they didn't care what it was called, but they wanted to get that thing.
Yeah.
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 Okay. So what's your frontier?
Um, letting it be easy,
Spacious.
spacious. Yeah. So, I've done all this meandering about trying to change my niche and do something different. And I got out there and I was like, it was kind of hilarious. Like, who am I talking to? What am I saying? Like in that land of like, oh, this like flowy confusion, which is not where I like to hang out. But I
Yeah.
hung out there for a while. And it's like, you know what? You know who loves to work with me? Coaches.
Yeah.
You know who I love to work with? Coaches.
Yeah.
You know what I'm really good at? Business and
Yeah.
coaching. So it's like, how about I just go do the thing that I know how to do really well and let it be easier and like go have some fun. And as soon as I decided to come home, it was like, ta-da, it's easy again. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
So what were you trying to do like when you were not just going, I love coaching coaches? Like who were you trying to think you should coach? I'm just curious. Like, did you think that there was like that it was like a cop out or something to just coach coaches? Like what was the reason that you were trying to like figure it out?
I think one of the things that had me turn away was because I still primarily was coaching coaches, but I was grappling with like, I'm a part of this industry that I don't like sometimes.
Hmm.
You know what? I don't like how that person is doing business. I don't like that that's called business coaching and that's what I call myself. And so I
Yeah.
had to like de-identify a little bit. I had to go away, get some space, still coach coaches in the meantime. But I had to decide to come back on my own terms too, because I came into business coaching on the invitation from other people. I didn't put my stake
Me
in the
too.
ground and say, this is me. It was everyone said, this is who we are.
Yeah.
So let's do
Yeah.
this. And
No,
I
I
had,
had that same experience. Yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to figure out when I came back, like, okay, if I'm going to come back, then what do I need for me? And I think that being able to put some really clear stakes in the ground for myself re-entering really helped, and that I can call, like, I don't care what I call it, business strategist for coaches,
Yeah.
coaches who want lifestyle businesses, life coach, business coach. I don't care what anybody calls me, honestly. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that the word business coach is also like there's so many iterations of that. There's so many ways to define what a business coach is. And I think like sometimes I get insecure around the idea that I'm a business coach, but I don't lead with like we were talking about earlier. I don't advertise like come work with me because it, 10K months, 50K months, whatever. I don't even feel comfortable doing that because I actually, again, I believe that like the business model, like if someone doesn't want a certain business model, they're not going to make that kind of money. That's just reality. Like, and
Right.
so I help people with a certain aspect of their business that I think is really important, which is them really figuring out what they like, how to articulate what they do, and also how to go from a broad certification that tells you what skill you have to actually figuring out how how do you apply that skill where you're really like helping the kind of people that you're best at helping and with what you're best at helping people like with, right? Your niche. And
Mhm.
and also figuring out how to talk about what you do because most people come out of their programs and whatever with very often, I know where you went to school, but like where I don't know what they give you to equip you in the world, but where I went, they give you this kind of done for you outline of a coaching program
Mm, mhm,
and kind of like a crutch and it's got some scripts.
mhm.
And and I think that like some people don't know how to get off book. Like they don't know how to get off script. They don't know how to turn that into like their own thing.
Mm.
And that could really like make you feel stuck in your business when you actually realize that all you know how to do is like kind of tell people about this one specific curriculum that you're
Right.
offering. And
Yeah, when you're
so
bigger than the pamphlet.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
that's a part of business is figuring out what your offer is.
Yeah,
And
breaking rules.
yeah, and that doesn't have to do with like immediately like raking it in, right? But it's important stuff that like you need. And
Mhm.
I think that like the word business coach is or the two words business coach can be it's very broad. And if you're a business coach in the coaching industry, it can feel hard to sort of tell people like why they should work with you because like
Mhm.
how are you going to help them?
Right. Yeah. But again, I think that energy thing, like for those people looking at how do you know when there's a right coach for you? I still think
Yeah,
it's energy and feeling. How does somebody make you feel? Are they calling you forth? Do you feel expanded in their presence? Great. That's probably the person for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also like I think this conversation is so important because I think that ultimately it's not only that but you also want to work with someone who has at least somewhat of a business model that you could see yourself having, right? So
Yeah.
and that was, you said like, did you get burned? I don't call it burned, but like, the coach that I signed up to be in a very expensive mastermind with, the first time I ever like really had a business coach and I was part of a group program mastermind, I didn't know this, what we're talking about right now. And
Mm,
so I ended up working with a coach who was really like doing a lot of teaching on ads and funnels and I was
mhm.
like nowhere near like
Yeah.
nowhere near that in my business, nor did I even want to be near that at that time. And that's why I was like, oh, I don't think I really understood like how you choose like
Right.
where you want to be and who you want to work with at that time. I didn't understand that.
I think in the time that I got burned, it was I had an expectation of all programs that if I'm not a great fit, you won't let me in.
Mm.
And I put that burden on them because that was my expectation. And I was incorrect because a lot of programs are like, if you have money, you can come.
Yeah, you pay and you're in. Even
And
if they
so,
give you an application, it's
right,
just to make sure that you're what, like not a bot, maybe.
right.
That you're
So,
actually like a person.
yeah, that'd be the learning that I'd pass off to anybody listening. It's like, just because you can afford it doesn't mean it's right for you. And it doesn't mean that the person who is willing to take your money is the right person for you.
And it doesn't mean they're a bad person, but
No, it's just
you're
that's
the
their
one who
model.
has to make sure that like, it's funny, I've told this to people a lot when they're asking about joining this or working with this person. I'm like, the most important thing is whether or not you believe that that program, coach, whatever,
Yeah.
can, you have to know what outcomes you want. Like, you should never work with
Don't
anyone.
outsource it.
You should never invest in anything without knowing what you're hoping to get out of it. Like, what would you ultimately like, them to be able to help you with, or what would you like?
Mhm.
And then you just have to make sure that that's something that that coach knows about. And not every coach knows everything or is great at everything. That's why
Right.
we do have our niches and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yes. Good point. Good point. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that you feel like we should touch on that we missed or glossed over?
But I think we both want I think we have similar audiences,
Mhm.
clientele. I think that something that keeps me up at night is I want my clients that are investing and working with me and that really want to be coaches. I want them to believe that they can. Like, I want them to believe that they can
Yes.
make
Yeah.
money, that
This
they
can
can
work.
get clients, and that it is possible. And I do think that because of the online space, I do think there are more demands on clarity about, like,
Mhm.
how we were talking right before we started recording, and I said I worked with someone today for a couple of hours on, on her branding. And, one of the things that I work really hard with people on is I just keep pushing, going, but what's really the outcome? But what's really the outcome? Okay, but okay, when they have that self-trust and that confidence, then what? Then what are they going to be doing? And I
Mhm.
think that as coaches in trying to make it, I do think that there are some things that we need to be able to, like, say, like, we need to get clear on, like, what outcomes we help people get. And we need to, there's some things we need. We need to know, like, our system, our program, whatever you want to call it. But I also think that it's really important to believe that there are people out there that need you. And I think especially when you look around and you see other people claiming to be, like, nailing it and killing it and raking it in, it's easy for your human brain to go, well, they have all the clients and there are none that now there are none for me.
Right. Yeah.
So I
No,
want our
doable.
people to believe that it's possible. It's not like it's not like everyone's just, banging down your door necessarily and saying, like, how can I give you my money? But it is possible to create a business. There are clients for you.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that isn't working now that was working in the last 5 years is stuff that you don't need anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
What do you think we should, if there's anything we left out of our conversation?
I think if you know you're here to be a coach, then you're right, and trust it, and watch out for there's a thing that happens when you're not really clear about where you're going, where everything seems like a good idea. And you're going to spend a lot of energy and a lot of time and a lot of money chasing a lot of things that aren't going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
So get to a place where you know what it is you want so you can be clear about what's for you and what's not for you, because that's the fastest way.
And I also think if you know that, like, what makes your business is another human being wanting to work with you, then your best business strategy is to figure out what's your best way of connecting with other human beings.
Yeah.
So
And
if
go
you
do that.
and do it, like, in other
Yeah.
words, like, go out in the world and, and talk to people, or find ways to do a talk, or like, get in front of people, meet people. And
Yeah.
then if you're using social media, rather than thinking that you're gonna, like, literally post on social media and get a client, I say use social media with the greatest hope of getting someone to want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, it's like rather than making your whole focus like clients, 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 what if all you really thought about was like, well, I know I'll get clients if it's preceded by interacting with a person. And like, if you think about interaction or communication or conversation as the thing that is where clients come from. So what if you just were like, woke up every day and thought like, how can I talk to someone? Who can I talk to?
Yeah. Who can I talk to today? That's your homework. Everyone listening, that is your homework.
Yeah. Who can I talk to?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that inspires you. You go, oh, wait a minute. So and so, I had been exchanging messages with so and so, and that kind of fell off. You know what? I'm going to circle back now and I'm going to say, hey, we were exchanging messages. Like, what's going on? Like,
How are you now?
how are things since then? Or, oh my God, so and so responded to my email and I was so busy and I saved it and I never responded. I'm going to go respond. And these things sound so stupid, but they're not. This is how I create almost all of my clients.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like those kind of things, those kind of follow-ups are, those are worth tens of thousands of dollars a year. Don't poo-poo them. And don't feel like you're too late. It's never too late to connect.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Okay. Where can people find you if they want to come check out your kind of business style?
All the places. I mean, well, first of all, I have a podcast that I love to ask people to listen to because I'm proud of it. I put a lot of work into it. So anyway, that's
It's
Passionate
good.
and Prosperous. And then, my website is my name, Stacey Brass-Russell, and I'm on the socials, right? But like, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. What's funny also is I feel like I have so much more, like I connect so much more with people through Facebook. So, that's the other thing is we all know our platforms, like we're on all the platforms, but we should also not be,
Yeah. What's your one? What's your one power
like,
platform?
where do people find you? Or where do
Mhm.
people interact with you? Anyway, so yeah, I'm on all the places, but it's all my name. My podcast is Passionate and Prosperous. And I'm sure you'll put in the show notes. I did put a little link in there for my free gift, which is how to craft your irresistible signature one-on-one offer. Because I really do believe that as a coach, that's all you need. You just need to sell your coaching. And when you want to scale, or if and when you want to, like once that's rocking for you and you're like, I want more, I want to grow my business, then you can add in courses or groups or whatever. But all you need, to make money as a coach
Mhm.
is your one thing that how you help an individual.
Yeah.
So that's what my little gift is there.
I love it. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Well, thanks for being here and just for being in it and chatting and being open about everything.
Thank you for having me. I hope the conversation I hope anyone listening got something out of it. I hope that you come away feeling inspired or hopeful or affirmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And ready to go connect. Remember your homework. Go connect.
Talk to people.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
So that's what happens when you get two business coaches together to have a conversation about coaching, business coaching, what's going on in their lives and what's coming up. Thank you, Stacey, for being here and for sharing your free gift with us. And to those of you coaches listening, I hope that those few takeaway questions land you somewhere good, somewhere that calls you forth. All right. Have a great night. Don't forget the freebie that I offered up as well as Stacey's are in the show notes. Adios.